fight's not over.
Stop the fight!
People.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
All right, guys, welcome back to Broke Bets. Lane here with you as always, and got my co-host with me, Carson. What's up?
Yo. UFC 304 in Manchester, England.
Yeah, we have a pretty good pay-per-view. Every time they go to London, they get I guess not London, England, they always have a pretty stacked up card, like a lot of fights, so good matchups as well. So, first fight, guys, let's just get right into this. We got Caolan Loughran versus Jake Hadley. Carson, I'm going to let you kick this one off. Who do you want to take here?
Yeah, this one just got announced, I believe, but I'm leaning towards Loughran at the moment, just with his size and physicality. Hadley will be making the jump up here to 135, and I just think Loughran's already huge as it is at 135, and on short notice, too, for Hadley. I know Loughran did have a training camp. He was supposed to fight Tavares, I think. Yeah. And yeah, I just think it'll be a tough matchup for Hadley here, and I see Loughran using his physicality and his strength here. I think wins a decision ultimately because Hadley's super tough and durable. Never been finished before, but yeah, I like Loughran here.
Yeah, this will be interesting because Hadley's like a pretty tricky ground game guy. Loughran's got, good control in his grappling and, decent grappling ability himself, but it's not the same flexibility and stuff that Hadley can pull off. Hadley coming off 2 losses, nearly breaking Cody Durden's arm, and then just trying to get pieced up by Charles Johnson. He's got a tick in his fighting game, I see, that's just awful, is he just goes right hand jab, left hand straight, and it's the same combo over and over, and you just see it coming. There's no mixing anything up, and I feel like Loughran and these guys can easily read that. A stare for this fight could just be the speed advantage. I think Hadley probably would carry speed advantage. Loughran's a little bit slower. His head sits out a little bit in front of his body. He could easily be touched, but the man's got the Drew Dober type head. It's just a fucking brick. So, I guess I haven't seen his chin fully tested, but look at his fucking head. It's just a block. And Hadley probably would have a hard time knocking him out. So, Loughran, physicality, like you said, that's going to be the big factor here. Short notice, and still a somewhat good scrap in my mind. So,
yeah, I feel like it'll be a really good scrap. I doubt it'll be the opener fight, but
yeah, it'll shift it around here.
Yeah.
All right, Loughran by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Shauna Bannon versus Alice Ardelean. Going with Bannon here. It's another short notice fill-in for Alice here. Stringing together some low-level wins, and shockingly, she's faced Zhang Wei Li like 8 years ago. It doesn't mean much. And I was going back looking at the footage of Ardelean, and I was like, I watched some video, and they were talking about how she's an OnlyFans girl in one of her fights. Like, commentators are talking about it, so I don't know what her motivation is. But this girl picks up her fucking feet when she throws punches. Like, she hurt a girl, and then she just started sprinting and throwing punches. It's just super uncoordinated, Juliana Pena style. But I see Bannon just being the better striker here. Also, can be the better grappler in situations as well. So, totally dodgeable fight, and I'm just going to stick with Bannon.
Yeah, low-level women's fight. I feel like Bannon, with the training camp as well, too, like you said, short notice for Ardelean. Making her UFC debut, too. Don't know what nerve she'll have. Hopefully Bannon has a little better performance than her last one. She's got some kicks in her game, but she's okay, I guess.
I think she'll win a lot of this on the output of volume. A lot of chick fighters can do that with striking, where they just go, yeah, and it's just whoever does that more wins the fight. So, I'd see Bannon doing a whole lot more of that here. So, Bannon by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Christian Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodrigues. Going with CLD Leroy Duncan here. I'm just much more of a fan of these loose styles in MMA. I mean, look at Gene Silva, for example. Drew Dober has this rigid style. Gene Silva, loose style. I mean, it goes back to the McGregor-Jose Aldo comparison we kind of used to make the judgment a lot on that Gene Silva fight. And I feel like just Leroy Duncan's going to be the looser fighter here. You know, Gregory Rodrigues is firm in his stance, rigid, and he's looking to brawl with people when it gets in there. And he's definitely dangerous to brawl with, but, diverse movement and, tricky setups could be the end of Rodrigues. We've seen him get knocked out cold before, and I feel like Christian Leroy Duncan can do a similar thing here. So I'm going to take him by a round 1 knockout. What do you think?
Yeah, he's super loose, very smooth striking. I feel like that's a really good comparison in this fight too. He's patient as well. He doesn't force a lot of stuff. His UFC debut was a little lackluster, but again, I mean, he was fighting a decent fighter in Armen Petrosian, so he's come back on two fights here and beat the brakes off of both of them. So he's got really good knees, elbows. He does some wild stuff too. He showed a little bit of grappling, so he's obviously working on that. I feel like he's a really good fighter, really smooth. If he can use that jab a little more, like I talked about 2 fights ago, probably, I think he'll be really good in the future here. But yeah, I like him to win this one.
Yeah, I think for a thing, Leroy Duncan, he can leave himself open at times because he does. When you have that frame, something that makes John Jones so special is that he just uses that frame to his advantage, where Leroy Duncan kind of abandoned a lot of that in the Petrosian fight. Maybe a little bit overconfident in his ability just to get a crazy knockout. And then in the Haberio fight, I mean, doesn't even have to use a jab a lot of times. He was just grabbing Haberio's arms, and then he would just hold them until he'd come through with an elbow and slice him open. So very creative with, I guess, how he can interchange using range. Interesting thing about this fight would be whether grappling would take place for Rodrigues. It's been, sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. You go back to the Dennis Lulian fight, he just destroyed him on the ground. The Chidi and Jokawani fight, he did a comeback victory by taking it to the ground. But for the most part, he's not really taking people down, and he's not really going for it. And I think Leroy Duncan could survive if this does go to the ground anyway. So, yeah. Any more thoughts here?
I think Leroy Duncan in his last fight, you could obviously tell he's been working on that ground game. He tried using it some in that fight. So I feel like it'll just get better and better. But yeah, should be a good test if Rodrigues does want it to go to the ground here.
All right. Leroy Duncan, KO, round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Modestas Bukauskas versus Marcin Prachnio. This is the stupidest fight ever. I'm just not a fan of either of these guys. I don't know how many people could be. It feels like they both are just fighting for their career to stay in the sport, in the UFC, versus going anywhere. I mean, either guy who wins this fight, they're going nowhere. So, going with Modestas. Sorry to be such a hater on both you guys, but Jesus, I mean, just tough to watch. Prachnio, just rough. I mean, I know he's beat Khalil Roundtree Jr. way long ago, and he's old now, and he beat William Knight with just leg kicks in the worst fight ever. Gets beat by Petrino, beats Devin Clark. I mean, he's just a little bit all over the place. I feel like Bukauskas has better movement with his feet, which sets up punches better. However, he's been prone to getting knocked out, getting his leg broken by Roundtree, and I'm going to take him by decision. I think that boxing and footwork's just a little bit better.
Yeah. Feel like Bukauskas has better movement, probably will throw somewhat a little volume, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough fight to watch. Both these guys lost to Petrino. Prachnio pretty much got dominated on the ground for that entire fight. which was like Prachnio's coming out party on the ground, I guess.
Yeah.
It was, and then Prachnio slept Bukauskas. So, I mean, which way do you want to go? I feel like Bukauskas is probably a little bit better, but yeah, very fight.
Yeah, and Prachnio is just like his cardio just doesn't look good either, and totally dodgeable fight. We should stop talking about it. Bukauskas by decision. Okay, for the next fight we have Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosbie. Who are you gonna take here, Carson? Who do you like in this fight?
I like Sam Patterson. I think the step up or move up in weight to 170 welterweight was very good. He was super thin for 155er. I'm not sure how he got down to that weight to begin with, but here we are. I think he put on a really good performance, beating Johan Lones in 2 minutes with his move up to 170, and I think the submission game is there, especially in this matchup too. With Kiefer Crosbie's last 2 losses coming via submission, I think Patterson has a clear advantage there on the ground, and I feel like he'll be able to work that ground game and eventually find a submission here.
Yeah, and Kiefer Crosbie, when he was getting pieced up by Josette, he tried to do a judo throw on Josette, who is a judo black belt, and instantly just got tossed to the ground and his back taken. So, not very smart there. We're going to go, what, I think submission, I put round 2 here. This is one of those fights where betting Kiefer Crosbie by knockout, I'm on Patterson as well here, but betting Kiefer Crosbie by knockout is a big value line because Sam Patterson's chin is, look at that fucking neck in that picture, boys. I mean, you can't protect that thing. It's just sitting up there, ready to be hit. And Kiefer Crosbie does have some power in those hands. And Sam Patterson, for having a 78-inch reach, he stands way closer to his opponents than he should. He doesn't have good reaction timing. It doesn't seem like to punches. And he keeps his hands down a lot. Whereas when you got that reach, you should be doing, instead of like your hands down by your hips, you should be keeping your fist out as a rangefinder to always, just be able to stay out of knockout range. But it seems like he doesn't have that fully figured out. Still a decent fighter from what I can see. Obviously, like you said, the grappling's the big deal here. That length he has is just tricky to deal with if he gets you to the ground, and he'll tie you up. So, gotta stay with the submission, but I like the under here. I think there's money, there's value on Crosbie by knockout. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Patterson has only been to 1 decision. His 2 losses are both by first-round KO, and Kiefer Crosbie has 5 first-round KOs. All 5 of his KOs were in that first round, too. So,
right.
Something to keep in mind here.
All right. Patterson submission round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Mick Parkin versus Lukasz Brzeski. Going with Parkin here. This is just one of your dodgeable heavyweight fights. They just got to throw on the card. Parkin's just going to be the bigger, stronger heavyweight here with a weight advantage. He's pretty slow. He has decent fundamental game, just to do the basics in boxing, and he can grapple a little bit. But for the most part, Brzeski, this guy's been taken down a lot. He actually is pretty good at getting back to his feet, but overall still struggles with a lot of that ground game. And, iffy decision, it felt like on that Walker one. I thought that a lot of the grappling could have gone towards Walker's way. I think a lot of other people thought that as well. Sloppy-ass fight. But yeah, I got to go with Parkin here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Parkin is, chunky heavyweight, like most of them. I think he's got decent hands though, and has some grappling ability too. I saw in that Contender Series fight, I believe he was able to get his first submission there. So he can mix in some grappling here too. I feel like he's got good volume. And I feel like that'll win him the decision too, just based on volume, output, and maybe mix in some takedowns here and there. So yeah, I like Brzeski, or I like Mick Parkin to win.
My main note on Parkin is, and I wrote this down in my notes, is another one of these heavyweights. A heavyweight that can beat the bottom of the barrel but really goes nowhere. So he's going to beat your Brzeski's, he's going to beat your Machados, he's going to beat your Muhammad Usmans, he's going to beat Jamal Poach, all these guys who fucking suck. And then he's going to meet, someone halfway decent, and he'll obviously lose. So, Parkin by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Oban Elliot versus Preston Parsons. Taking Preston Parsons. I feel pretty confident in this one, guys. Oban Elliott's going to be the UK fighter. The crowd will be behind him, but in this game, he's going to be a guy who likes to fight on the outside behind his kicks, which are pretty good. But for the most part, Parsons is going to be coming forward, looking for those takedowns, and just looking to wear him down as the fight goes on. And I've seen Oban Elliott get real tired in round 3, and I feel like Parsons, again, his nickname's Pressure, and it's very true. He got 7 takedowns or something versus Semmelsberger, 3 versus Giles, like 6 versus Elder. I mean, he's getting takedowns in these fights, and Elliot, Philly's he's not the strongest welterweight. Parsons a pretty jacked dude. Also, Elliot's, he got fucking rocked by Val fucking Woodburn, who looks like Gumby, and I don't even know exactly what he looks like. He just looks bizarre, and he was on the verge of death from a knockout from Brito on the Contender Series for over 2 minutes, and which he survived because Brito's bad decision-making with his punches. So it's debatable. I mean, he's good enough to be in the UFC, but debatable enough that I don't know if he should never got the job in the first place, it seems like. But I like Parsons by submission. I think he works his ground game and gets that submission. What do you think?
Yeah, Parsons is going to be forcing that action here. Always pressuring Elliot. Yeah, he wore out Semmelsberger in the last one. His cardio is really good. I feel like if it goes longer too as well, that'll favor him. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a KO on his record, but yeah, that submission game is where he's strongest, and I feel like he'll be able to find these takedowns and work his submission here. Second round, third round.
Yeah,
Elliot
I got 2.
starts slowing down, and Parsons will be taking over and wearing out Elliot.
And I feel like it might look a little bit rough in round 1 because Elliot's got the big cage to move around, but again, he has to run the whole fight, and I feel like Parsons cuts down that range. And then Parsons, like you said, no knockouts, but he actually does have a pretty strong left hand. He rocked Trevin Giles multiple times in their fight with that left hand. So if Oban Elliott's getting rocked by Val Woodburn, I think Preston Parsons has a decent chance. So, all right, Preston Parsons, submission round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Molly McCann versus Bruna, Brasil. Taking Molly McCann. This is a good fight, and Molly McCann may be a little bit oversized of a favorite, but I understand why in a lot of ways. First of all, she's the home crowd fighter, and then one of the big things I saw in comparison of styles is Bruna Brasil really struggles with her boxing. She likes to stay at range, use her kicks, the length, and then cut down range when she wants, but Molly's in people's faces from start to finish, and here at strawweight, she's in the right weight class. I mean, Storolenko is a borderline 135er. She had to fight. Erin Blanchfield just has two levels above her in wrestling. So those are 2 fights I'm willing to brush off the board for a matchup like this. And I've seen Bruna Brasil struggle with the boxing of Gomes. I feel like Molly McCann's going to come out there, guns blazing, looking for a knockout, and I must say she gets it in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, Molly McCann has really good aggression. She goes for it. She's in your face. Bruna Brasil likes to be on the outside distance. I feel like that style is going to clash here, and McCann's going to be forcing that action. And yeah, when she was fighting Luana Carolina and Hannah Goldie, she put on really good performances there and in the home crowd advantage too. So I think she'll have another fight like those and pull out victory with the home crowd.
Yeah, and she gets a lot of shit, but she's also got a lot of aggression in her fighting style, which is really important for a lot of these women's fights. And she's going to want to finish. Every time she comes out in these UK crowds, she does go for it. So I think she really looks for this knockout here. I think her by knockout could just be a good bet in general. And, I know she got a submission in her last fight, but she was looking for the knockout in that one. I think that was an Apex fight. So swinging elbows, and yeah, I think it's a good matchup for her here, and a fun little fight. So McCann, KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Nathanial Wood versus Daniel Pineda. Going with Nathaniel Wood here feels like a no-brainer, but the thing for me is Nathaniel Wood, he's fighting in the wrong weight class. He was at 135, he looked pretty drained there, but he's at 145 now, and he looks like the smallest 145 there is. He facing Feely, he looked tiny. Facing Naimov, he got beat in grappling strength scenarios. And Pineda is just a guy who likes to overwhelm people with grappling pressure early on in a fight, and he gets himself exhausted by doing so. So that's a scare early on that he could just lose rounds 1, maybe 2. But I think Pineda gets so tired and Wood's technique starts to take over. I got Wood by a round 3 submission. What do you think?
Yeah, Wood's striking is phenomenal. He's got good timing. His hands are always high. Good striking defense, but that chin is kind of worrisome. I don't think it'll be worrisome here in this particular matchup, but it has been cracked a few times. So yeah, Pineda will probably be wanting those takedowns. He'll burn out. Wood has decent defensive grappling. He's got good trips of his own. Really good leg kicks. I feel like he can time some of those leg kicks and make it tough for Pineda to find those takedowns. But yeah, I like Wood's boxing here, his timing, and you said sub. I think a KO here would be nice in the second or third round.
Okay, yeah, I think it's one of those.
Pineda has six submission losses, so that's probably a good path of victory too. So
the way I see it, and I'll make 2 comparisons here. I feel like a lot Nathaniel Wood fights like Peyton Talbot, just with their flow. Like, he has a great feeling of timing, and he catches people at good times. And then as well, this would relate to when Peyton Talbot faced that Nick Aguirre guy, where the guy's just diving on his legs, and he's not even giving you the chance to knock him out. So I feel like that's me a lot of what Pineda's doing here until he gives up his back, and then Wood can, finish him. So yeah, it could easily be a knockout or submission. That's just how I see it playing out. But I think Wood has a high fight IQ, although he made some decisional mistakes in the Naimov fight. I'll excuse it because he got a little bit too much muscle to deal with on the Naimov side. But yeah.
He also got robbed too. Naimov grabbing his gloves, grabbing the cage.
Oh, true.
Naimov is a little cheating bitch.
A little mountain cheating boy.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, Wood submission round 3. Okay, guys, for the next fight, we have Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. I'm going with Bobby Green. I just feel like, he's good at not getting hit extremely clean. At the same time, tricky with his boxing, and we've seen Paddy put his chin up in the air. The age gap and all that, it's a scare. I think this whole fight is a great matchup, so I'm going to go with Green by knockout in round 2. Then say damage adds up a little bit, but I'm going to let you give your take here as well. So what do you think?
Yeah, like you said, it is a good fight. This is probably my second favorite fight behind the Aspinall fight. But, Bobby Green just scares the crap out of me with his hands down low and the way he got finished by Jalen Turner. It felt like every time Jim Miller was connecting, I know it wasn't a lot, but every time he did connect, he was getting reactions. I feel like Paddy can connect at some point and crack that chin again of Bobby Green. who's 37 years old now.
Yeah.
Patty looks in decent shape too. I saw on Instagram, so that's good. He's got twins now, I believe. Twins, Audi. But yeah, I mean, he's got a little more motivation there too. Home crowd advantage. Yeah, I feel like Patty's got decent grappling as well too. But yeah, I feel like it'll be on the feet the entire time with Bobby Green's takedown defense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I like Patty to find a KO at some point.
I feel weird about this one because, you know, Bobby Green, like, knocked out by Drew Dober, the Jared Gordon head clash, whatever. He got rocked by Tony Ferguson in their fight, easily beat Dawson, just murdered by Turner, as we all know, and then rocked by Miller 2 or 3 times. So that chin is a big thing, but he's also getting hit by some people with heavy hands, whereas I feel like Patty just doesn't really have those heavy hands. You know, he's got that one knockout versus Vendramini in his debut. And I think he doesn't have the slickness in his striking to really set up a good knockout shot. And the biggest red flag for me, and I don't think he'll take the grappling approach either, but for how tired this man was in round 3 versus Tony Ferguson, you can't get that tired versus Bobby Green. And if he tries to grapple and he gets to that point of exhaustion and he can't finish Green on the ground, it's going to be a fucking hellish fight for him at that point. So, great matchup. Again, I'm going to stick with the slickness on the feet with Bobby Green, the jab doing a lot of the work, and we'll see. So,
yeah.
Carson on Patty, Blaine on Bobby. Okay, for the next fight, we have Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kopp. Woo! We gotta take Manel Starboy Kopp here, guys. It is Muhammad Mokaev. Okay, pretty untested on the feet, okay? And every time he's in these fights, all he's doing is diving on legs like Aljo. And not only that, the Perez fight, I thought he lost. I know people were like, well, Perez didn't do any damage. Well, Mokaev's literally diving into a crotch and literally putting his nose on his balls. So, you know, like, who's winning in that situation? I think the guy defending the takedown is winning the situation. And he just looks incredibly nervous to be on the feet. And in terms of the grappling, Kopp is just so fast. I think it's going to be hard for Mokaev to beat his hips anywhere, push him against the cage in this big cage. And I do think this actually goes to a decision. There's obviously a chance Kopp could easily knock him out in my mind. But I think Mokaev dives on legs so much, even if he does get hurt, that it's just going to be a whole lot of Aljo, head on the mat, hands down, can't knee him in the face type deal. So give me Manel Kopp, and I like him a lot here, guys. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, people kind of forget that Muhammad Mokaev was losing to Tim Elliott not too long ago,
and almost lost to Fieldho as well, and almost got submitted by Perez. Malcolm Gordon.
Yeah, almost lost to Perez too in his last one. Honestly, I thought he did lose to Perez, just based on damage. And yeah, Mokaev just doesn't do any damage, as we've all seen. He lands 1 strike per minute, 1.5 strikes per minute. That's
awful.
That's insanely low.
At flyweight too, you know. That's like a heavyweight stat number.
He's obviously a really good wrestler, but that's all he is. He's not doing any damage with that. And then Cap is the complete opposite. He's got a ton of power, and he's doing a ton of damage. So if he can make weight too, I feel like he's got this one. And we need to see him in the press conference, and we need to see him have a great post-fight speech calling this.
Oh, I forgot about that. I'm not going to say it on YouTube, but I wanted to do a little impression of him there. But talking to Adesanya, anime. But I mean, Manel Kopp has some of his downfalls as well. He can be a little hesitant with his striking. He gets in a little bit overzealous wars with Dos Santos, who had a good chin. But something also I really like, this is going back to the Ode Osborne fight with that flying knee. I feel like he could set something up like that versus Makayev. I mean, the way the dude just puts his head right into the mat, you could jump and fucking just knock his fucking cap off. So, to me, this is where, I'm not going to say the hype train ends, because this dude's 24 years old, but people diet down a little bit. I don't think he just doesn't deserve a title shot. I mean, if he wins this one, sure, but yeah, give me Manel Kape. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to think about Bukauskas getting a title shot already, but... Yeah,
Taira deserves one 10 times. It's just because Taira doesn't have as big of a casual fan base, so...
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Kape.
Let's go, Kape.
By decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. I'm going with Arnold Allen, but I do believe this is going to be a very close fight. I just truly think Giga's kind of past his prime here, guys. That Kelvin Kattar fight did something to him. I think it was just like the will break type deal where when he faced Teixeira, there was clearly him holding back, it seemed like, from maybe trying not to get exhausted or something along those lines, but he just didn't seem to have that same confidence that he held when he was Giga kicking people in the liver and just stopping them in their tracks. And I feel like Arnold Allen as well here, I feel like he's just going to be more active in the striking. He's the younger fighter and pressing forward, doing some of his boxing. And it's going to be a close fight, though. I think it's going to be a really close fight. So take Allen by decision. What do you think?
Yeah, Giga was kind of hesitant or whatever you'd call it in his last fight. Didn't look his greatest, but yeah, obviously Allen's had two tough matchups here in his last two fights, but yeah, I feel like he'll be putting the pressure on and walking Giga down, and he's got really good power in his hands too, which I feel like he could knock out Giga, but I mean, yeah, he's got a ton of power.
He doesn't get knockouts, but he does have power.
Yeah. He can get kind of wild and carried away with it, but an overswing. But yeah, I like Allen here, especially a home crowd as well. And
I do. It's probably not the most popular opinion, but I thought that Arnold Allen beat. I don't know if he beat Mobstar. It was very close, I'll say, but the knees on the mat where he picked up Evelev's head and then kneed him in the head, and then he got, the position taken away. Things like that cost you fights where it was a legal move and a pretty bullshit scenario. And I believe the rules were you can't use one hand down on the ground to be a grounded opponent. It needs to be a weight-bearing hand as well. So I thought he debatably won that fight. But anyway, Arnold Allen by decision. Okay, for the real heavyweight champion, we have Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades, a rematch. Carson, I'm going to let you kick this one off. Who you taking and why?
Yeah, I like Tom Aspinall here. He's the best heavyweight in the world currently. John Jones is ducking him. We all know that. Yeah, I mean, Tom Aspinall is just super athletic, super free-flowing. Nobody moves like him. Maybe Cyril Gahn, but aside from that, he's got ground game ability as well too. He's got decent submissions. He's got it all. He's got power. Yeah, I mean, his speed is just something else. And I see that happening here. I think is just hand speed and movement speed is just faster than every other heavyweight in the division. And I feel like they'll be putting Curtis Blades to sleep here in this first round.
Yeah, the only other heavyweight I can think of that would compete with athleticism with Tom Aspinall would be Cyril Gahn, but Cyril Gahn doesn't have the same power and speed that Tom Aspinall has. Or
ground game, yeah.
Yeah, so looking at this one, I mean, Curtis Blades, truthfully, has never been too great at takedowns. He's been taking down people in his career way back when, Jairzinho, and he mostly gets these takedowns by pushing people up against the fence. I don't see him pushing Tom Aspinall back at all. The worst part about this fight, guys, is Carson and I bet on Tom Aspinall 2 years ago as an underdog when they first fought, and he lost via ACL injury, and here we are 2 years later, and he's minus 350. So not only do we lose on probably who was the better fighter at the time, but we lose value on the second chance to hit it as well. So, obviously KO round 1 feels like the way to do it. I mean, this dude's just a round 1 destroyer of people, and Curtis Blades been knocked out multiple times before, and that's, I mean, the thing I always notice with him too, similar to Johnny Walker, is that Blades' legs stiffen up real bad when he's knocked out. I mean, obviously the Derek Lewis one, that's not a big surprise, but I'm more talking about this Pavlovich one. There are moments where he just gets stunned on the feet and he just gets rigor mortis in his legs and they stiffen up and he's about ready to fall down at that point. And it just leaves him open for another big punch. So Tom Aspinall should be all over this fight. Again, the only thing I'm ever worried about with him is just maybe the late cardio, but who knows if he's ever going to have to use it. We'll see. So, any more thoughts here?
Yeah, I know MMA math isn't always working, but Pavlovich beating Blades and then Aspinall beating Pavlovich pretty clearly, a minute into that fight. So,
yeah.
I know it doesn't work, but yeah, I mean, I feel like Aspinall is just on another level here.
All right. Aspinall KO round 1. All right, guys, before the main event prediction, please, of course, subscribe, like, drop comments down below. But yeah, here we are. Check out that Patreon, as always, guys. Already got bets posted for this card. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. We're taking Leon Edwards. A lot of people don't like this fight. And Carson even told me off camera before we did this video, it's not the best fight, but truthfully, obviously Shavkat versus Leon would be cooler, and everyone understands that, but if Belal's going to get his time, this is going to be the time. But I see this matchup similar to how like a Colby-Kamaru matchup goes, where neither guy in Colby or Kamaru were extremely entertaining in their build-up and in their career. Kamaru had like shitty fights with Tyron Woodley, and then obviously going back, just a lot of grappling fights. And Leon Edwards and Belal are kind of similar in that way. There are not a lot of finishes. Obviously, the head kick knockout, extremely entertaining, but for the most part, the rest of the fight wasn't great. And you go back to the Leon Colby fight. The biggest thing that we said when Colby fought Leon was Colby's got to put the pace on him from the second the fight starts. There is no feeler round, and Colby took a feeler round, and he just got his leg chopped, and confidence built for Leon while confidence went down for Colby.
Well, he broke his ankle early in that first round.
Oh, yeah, because he kicked and the elbow broke it, yeah, sure. And then Belal, I think Belal might be actually better and more hungry to go try to search and get that takedown earlier in the fight and maybe make this a dog fight. I still think, Edwards just more tools in this fight to do stuff on the feet, obviously more punishing with his hands still, but the lack of aggressiveness could really cost Leon Edwards in a fight like this where he should be really looking to build a resume with some more finishes here. So I'm going to take Leon by decision, not extremely confident. I mean, people underrate Belal, and Belal wins fights. So what do you think here?
Yeah. I like Leon. I think Belal will try to be going for those takedowns. I know we obviously know Leon has really good takedown defense. He's super long and lengthy. I think he'll use that to his advantage here. Home crowd for him as well. He's got really good knees and elbows, which I like. If it's in the clinch, he'll be using those elbows. I think that's one of his better weapons. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these fights are typically pretty boring and slow paced. When Belal was fighting Vicente Luque, I mean, he had pretty good timely takedowns. He'd like run around the cage for 2.5 minutes and then shoot those takedowns. He wasn't forcing them. But yeah, he's got pretty good timely takedowns. He couldn't finish Gilbert Burns, who had one arm.
Couldn't knock down Sean Brady.
Yeah. And obviously this is a rematch, I guess, of what Leon was winning that first round. So yeah, I mean, I think Leon's good for one or two eye pokes in this fight too. So I think I think Leon wins by decision, but not the best fight.
Yeah, I just think that the boring styles colliding could make a more interesting fight. I just think Belal's gonna go for it. That's the thing. Leon just wants to fight on the outside. He had that whipping head kick that did rock Belal in their first fight before the eye poke ended everything. Belal's also cashed as an underdog 4 times in a row, going back to Wonderboy, Luque, Brady, and Burns. He was like plus 100 in the Brady and the Burns one, but still underdog on the odds. So
yeah, if you also want to play that route, you could say the 35 and older 170s or lower, with Belal in there, with Belal being 36, and those championship fights are like 1 in 50 something. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously not going for him, but he feels younger than what he actually is, because he just doesn't take a ton of damage with his style here.
Right, and home crowd advantage for Leon. I do think what you talked about with the timely takedowns, I know we'd mentioned that before, but it's a total bitch move. He circles the cage for 3 minutes, and then it's like, all right, 2-minute mark. If I get 2 minutes of control, I might be able to win the round, and he'll dive on a leg.
Yeah, so nothing happened in the first 3 minutes. The judges will see that I won on top, so I'll get that round.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what he's banking on.
Yeah, so pretty bitch move, but sticking with the damage, sticking with the tools, and Edwards' grappling defense seems to be better and better every fight. So give us Leon Edwards by decision, headshot dead. All right, guys, to recap, Lemos versus Jandiroba, bad card for us. Just did not do well getting too many fights right here. There was a lot of minus, plus 100 and minus 200 odds lines for most fights. Most fighters weren't that big of favorites, so just overall didn't do well. There's some good fights, some good scraps, knockouts in there, but yeah, minus 2.13 units starting it off. Man, I have a rule, and I broke the rule. We typically don't bet women's fights or heavyweight fights, shitty heavyweight fights, I should say. And, dumb me was thinking that Usman could just use his jab because Peterson really doesn't have any striking, and clearly he just was just moving forward, and he was able to beat Usman off of moving forward the whole fight. I feel really stupid for betting Usman because clearly he's a horrible fighter, but he has beat Collier and some of these other people who fall in the same category as Peterson. So bad result there. Next, I'd call these next two bets kind of an inverse scenarios in my mind. We have Brian Kelleher, Cody Gibson. There's a submission there. Kelleher fast to tap on an arm triangle where half guard. He was in 3/4 mount, actually, I should say, and just didn't answer the phone, didn't do the right things to defend the submission, and it was all grappling. And then, finishes round 1, whatever. We go to the Kurt Holobaugh, Kenan Khrushchevsky fight, which has probably the most violence out of any fight on the night throughout the course of it, and goes the distance. You have Khrushchevsky getting a deep ninja choke and then modified kind of guillotine that he couldn't finish, and then going for another guillotine he couldn't finish, and then Holobaugh having Krzyzewski dead to rights, kind of on the feet. He was clearly out of it on the feet, and then shoots a takedown. So it was just one of those fights where everything showed that it was going to not go the distance, and it did, and just got totally burned there. Luana Carolina to get more significant strikes. That was pretty easy. I think she doubled the significant strikes that Pudilova had, so easy hit there. And then finally the parlays, over 2.5 rounds, over 2.5 rounds. Easy hits there as well. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Usman, horrible bet. Those two over 1.5 and the Halabau fight, I feel like those two could have easily happened, but missed an opportunity. Didn't really like too many the plus money lines on this card, shockingly, and a lot hit, so just missed out on a lot of the good moves there. But I did like a lot of the finishes on this card. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't as bad as it was made out to be. But on to UFC 304, and of course, guys, check out those bets, and peace!
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. The old doubt to me said I couldn't do it. The old said I couldn't do it.